Welcome to Navigating Hope, your compass to health empowerment. I'm Dr. Jaime Hope, steering you through healthcare, overcoming overwhelm, personal goals, and emergencies. We'll navigate the healthcare maze with actionable insights and real-world advice, unlocking the secrets to a healthier, more vibrant life. Join us to take control of your well-being and make informed decisions for your health and your future. Stay with us as we unravel the mysteries of medicine, wellness, and life's unforeseen challenges, helping you bypass the ER with a dose of knowledge. Stay tuned till the end of the episode with a recap of your actionable insights and a free gift. Let's chart a course to your well-being together. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I am so excited to be joined today by the amazing Alison K. Now, you'll see her full bio in the link, which is quite extensive and quite impressive. In addition to being the podcast host of The Ultimate Journey of Self-Care and creating the best client experiences. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Creating the world's best client experiences, because we got to go big, right? You have been the founder and CEO of your companies. What I see most of all in this bio, this really impressive list of things that you've done, are a couple things. One, you understand you're in it for the long game. This is not just a quick fix, a magic. And the thing that impresses me the most about you and why we related so well and why I really loved our conversation is you truly embody what you do. You live what you teach and give to other people, and that is what makes you so incredible. So welcome to the show, Alison.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's dive right in. So I wanted to chat with you about your origin story.
Okay.
So people see you with these amazing accolades and all of these things that you achieved, but you didn't start out there. You didn't start off on day one being this ultra successful person. So what was it that led you towards your passions about self-care, fitness, and creating these experiences?
Well, when I first tell people this, they almost can't believe it. But the career that I have loved for the last 30-something years was a plan B that became a plan A for me.
Right?
And most people can't believe that when I tell them that. My initial goal was to go to physical therapy school. I planned my whole college career around it. And sometimes the universe just decides that, nope, we're not going to have you do that. We're going to direct you over here. And sometimes in my case, I don't know if you're like this or not, but maybe someone listening can relate. Sometimes we have to be hit on the head a few times before we start paying attention. And that's really what it took for me. And so I ended up going and getting a graduate degree in exercise science. And I've been a very successful entrepreneur in the health and fitness field for close to 25 years. But I worked for other people before that because I really think that it's really not very often that you can just set out and decide to start a business. I think in my case, being that, like I said, this was a plan B for me. I wanted to go learn. I wanted to be a sponge and go learn from other people. My very first job in graduate school, when I went all in on this plan B, was cleaning machines. Guess how much I made an hour?
Oh boy.
$5. $5. Count it.
There you go.
And I cleaned machines and took the garbage out and literally was like a little puppy dog following people around because I wanted to learn as much as I could. And I knew that was what it was going to take.
I love it. You have such a put in the reps mindset.
Yeah.
What a great frame.
And back then, we didn't have as many opportunities in my field as we do now. Back then, you either went to work for a company and you did corporate fitness or you went to work in a gym. And what do most people think of when you go work in a gym? Selling memberships, right?
Right.
That was the mentality back then. And I was like, you know what? I got to start someplace. And I recognize I've had a part-time job since I was 10 years old. So I wasn't afraid to go and clean toilets if that's what I had to do. But I wanted to go learn the business and I wanted to see what it would take and have a really good idea because nobody thinks about all of that every day in running a business. They just think about signing the deals and making the money, but that doesn't just appear overnight, right? But I got to be honest, that first job, I not only was cleaning equipment, I was following people around. I was orienting members to equipment. I got to sub and teach a group fitness class. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew how to teach everything like correctly. And that was the most important thing.
Ah,
But that was how I got started. And that was the springboard where I saw there were so many different ways that I could do this. But I think without that, I think we go into a job with an entitlement mindset and we don't really see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important to see somebody with your level of experience and success and accolades to
Uh-huh.
be willing to talk about it. You do have to go in, you have to wipe things, you have to clean.
Yep.
My first W-2 job was scrubbing pans at a Taco
Yep.
Bell. Like
Totally.
keeping that humble
Yep.
mindset and putting in those reps. So
Yep.
what I love about you is that you don't just show the success, you share the struggle. What other
Yeah.
struggles did you run into along the way that got you to where you are now?
Well, a lot when I first began, a lot of it was you had to get experience. Nobody would hire you unless you had experience, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you get experience? You get experience by showing that you know what you're doing. Well, if you
Right.
don't get a chance to really learn the ropes, right? I could talk all day long about what I was learning at school, what I was learning as a teaching assistant. Look, nobody wants to hear that you're grading papers and writing lesson plans and being a gopher for somebody who's super successful in your department, which is basically what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But 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 I guess what I really learned from all that is that it's not even about the job that you do. It's about what you're learning and how you can translate that into what's coming next, right? So for
Yes.
me, once I finished, once I decided that I was done at that first job, like the $5 cleaning equipment, don't get me wrong, I was grateful for that, but I was ready
Yes.
for something else. And so being a TA, I got to talk to a lot of people in the department, and we would have people call our office and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody to work out with me. Can you
Mm-hmm.
recommend somebody? And of course, back then it was like $20 an hour for training. Heck yeah, I can do that. I can train a
Woo!
couple of clients and that's my groceries for the whole week, right? That's the
Ah.
mindset, right? But you never forget those opportunities because you never take anything for granted. That was my biggest lesson in all of that. When I got out of school, I was never too proud for the next opportunity. And I know that's what helped bring me to where I am today. It's because, and I still embrace that mindset because I think there's still some, especially in today's world, there's so much more out there to learn than you could
Mm-hmm.
even begin to imagine in business today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think about it as like a before and after photo when people see weight loss. They see the before picture and they see the
Yeah.
after picture and they think that
Yeah.
they can get that instantly, but
Yeah.
you know what that looks like in the interim. So,
Yeah.
how did you take your success principles that got you so well into putting in the reps and help translate that to teach your clients?
Well, for me, it was I had to go. My first job out of graduate school was managing a chain of health clubs. I worked in I take that back. I worked in corporate fitness for about a year and decided I didn't want to go that route because it was way too political. It was way too follow this plan and stay in your lane and all of that, which totally is not the way I'm made at all. Any
Yeah,
entrepreneur listening can understand that, right?
right.
And, so when I realized during that time how much I missed being in the gym. But I knew that I had to go back and start someplace. And this opportunity literally fell in my lap. And it's a funny story. I'll give you the really short story version first. I was on my way back to East Carolina, which is where I did my master's. A big shout out to East Carolina Pirates listening, right? And I got a speeding ticket going down to visit some friends. I was
Uh-oh.
like, rocking and rolling, ready to go down. I had my radio on. I was just like loving it, right? And then I got pulled over and I thought, great, this is kind of a bummer. So anyway, my court date was like 4 or 5 weeks later. So I got the day off from work and I knew that I was leaving my corporate fitness job. I'd already put in my notice and everything, but I was giving my boss plenty of time to find somebody for my replacement, right? And so he said, take the day off, just go do what you need to do. I know that you're putting resumes out and everything. So what did I do back then? That's when we actually read the real newspaper, right? Anybody listening can remember that, right? So I opened the newspaper and there's this ad for a program director for a brand new health club that's getting ready to open its second and third location. So I thought, okay, universe, I hear you. This is my next opportunity, right? So I had some copies of my CV in my car. And so after my court date, well, after I got all that taken care of, I'd left my CV at the gym and the owner wasn't there. But when I got home, it wasn't an hour later that I got home, he called me and he said, I'm very impressed with your resume. When can you come and talk with me? I went and met with him and his wife the next day. They took me to dinner 2 nights later and made me an offer. And so that was my next job, but all just worked out. A speeding ticket turned into an opportunity. I'm not telling anyone to go out and get a speeding ticket, but what I'm saying is that you talk about the opportunities that you never know what is going to happen, right?
Nice.
So I did that for a little over 3 years. And then I decided finally to start my own business. And I had what I already knew was that number one, I really wanted to work with people on helping them really get in shape. I wanted to give people great customer service. I had my own ideas on how to do that. And I knew enough about business and how to make it work that I just knew that I had to try it. And I'm sure anyone out there listening that's older that can relate to this. There's a point in our life where we think, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely.
No, and that's what it was. So I thought I'm going to give myself a year. And if I can't make this work and I'm just hand to mouthing it and I just can't really see a future, then I'm going to go find a job then. But that's why I have amazing credentials behind my name, because I know that I've always got that to fall back on. And I really believe in that too. So anyway, so needless to say, that was 25 years ago. So
and the rest is history.
That's
but
right.
You set a big goal. You gave it guardrails so you would feel safe. If this doesn't work out in a year, I'm going to do something else. And then you poured yourself into it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I had $1,000 in the bank. I didn't go borrow any money. My parents thought I had lost my mind because I had just worked so hard to get this amazing master's degree and had all these great work credentials and had several certifications too on top of that. The education wasn't the problem. And so my parents, of course, what do you think the first question was that my dad asked me? Can you make a living?
Right, absolutely.
Right. And I was like, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I've always figured it out. I've always known that about myself. I will always figure it out. Sometimes I don't know what that's going to look like right now, but I know that I'll figure it out. I've always believed that deep down in my core that I'll figure it out. And I did. I took my savings. I cut back on everything that I needed to do. I just needed to make enough money to pay my mortgage and to put some, money in the bank. My student loans were paid for. My car was paid off. I really didn't have any major obligations to speak of. So I thought, this is the perfect opportunity. Only problem was there was no internet. We barely had internet back then.
Right.
No social media. My business card I made on my computer. I made a printout and I have created a Hotmail address for myself.
Hey, Hotmail.
And I went around knocking on doors the old fashioned way. And I was burning up my phone every day, making phone calls. That was the one thing I learned being in the gym business, is that you got to be talking to people every day. And that's still one of the things that I teach my entrepreneurs today, is that you have to be doing reach outs every day. Every day you have to be reaching out to people.
And that's such a consistent part of your story and a consistent part of who you are. It's that work hard, that personal touch, and that experience that you give.
But what it also does, and what I really want your listeners to hear when I say this is, it's not always about the things you're doing every day. Because I listen to people, and I'm sure you do too, really successful business owners, that these are my 5 success tips. These are the 5 things I do every day. This is my morning routine, and I never deviate from it, right? But here's the thing though, it really doesn't matter what those steps are. Okay. What matters is that you do what is necessary to build the belief within yourself that you can figure it out. As an entrepreneur, there's not a one size fits all template to get you to where you want to be, right? You have to figure out the balance that works for you. But here's the thing, you always have to bet on yourself. And for me, it was talking to all those people all those years ago. I got so used to talking about who I am and what I do and what kind of questions could I ask to start building a relationship. It's like it's so natural for me to do that with people that I don't even think about saying, here, buy my stuff, which is what a lot of people do today.
Oh, yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they know and trust. But people want to feel like they know you before they even think about giving you their money.
Messages were bombarded. People are sending you private messages, which is immediately, hey, you buy my stuff, as opposed to any form of relationship creation.
Well, and it's really, tell me about you. And look, some of that can sound cheesy after a while too. I've gotten to where in this AI age that we live in, and you can probably relate to this, you probably get several messages, whether they're emails or Facebook DMs or something on LinkedIn or whatever. And they're like, hey, if you're anything like me, you probably like this or whatever. And you just know automatically that it's like a recycled cut and paste type thing. But for me, it's always about, I always want to feel like I know the person that I'm talking to first before I say, you know what, I have this great program that I think would be a really good fit for you. I can't do that in the first conversation that I have with somebody. Now, if they ask me, how can I work with you? Then I'll say, why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a consultation where I can learn more about what your goals are? I'm not just going to say, here, buy my stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of business owners still don't get that, I think, today.
You're really taking the principle of diagnosis before prescription.
Right. Pretty much.
Which is a really important order to do that in.
Yeah. Well, here's a little golden nugget I'll leave for your audience. And maybe you've read this book too. It's a series of books. It's called The Go-Giver. It's one of the best series of books to read if you're in business. They're 3 little short books. You can probably read them all in a weekend. But it is an amazing principle where it's based on service and generosity first, which are 2 of my core values. And it's about how much can you give away before you ask for business. Because people, nice. What do they always say? People don't always remember what you say or what you do, but they will remember how you made them feel, right?
Absolutely.
And that's super important.
And I can just picture, because you embody your principles. And I see a lot of patients, I know you've worked with a lot of people, they're at the beginning of a fitness journey or a health journey. And when you see the picture down the road, it can feel so big and so intimidating.
So far away too, right?
Yeah, so can you share some of your magic sauce and how that mindset so people can see themselves here, but also know they're going to have to work to get there?
I'm really glad you asked me this because I feel like there's a lot of people in my industry in particular that really are not doing a very good job of this. I think people are still very good at, you know what they always say, you got to sell the result. People buy the result. They don't just buy the program, they buy the result. But where I jump in, I say, not necessarily. People buy you. They don't always buy what you're selling, they buy you. So they have to believe in you. So in order for people to believe in you, you want to, number one, be relatable. You want to make sure that people understand that people know that you hear them, that they can trust you, and more importantly, that they feel safe. And how do people feel safe? They feel safe when they feel like they're heard, right? And they feel like they're not feeling like they're being sold, they're being pigeonholed into something that may or may not work for them, that kind of thing. But to answer your question, to get back to your point, for me, it's always about, all right, you know what? I love it that you want to lose 100 pounds. I'm making that up, but let's use that as an example. Sure. Love it that you want to lose 100 pounds. Okay. So let's look at what you really like to do first. So I always want to get people excited about what they already enjoy doing. You want to know why? Because they're going to be more motivated to do that, right?
Absolutely.
The first 30 days, the big goal is great. Whatever you need to motivate yourself, great. But the first 30 days, you know what I want you focused on? Getting in a routine. So what does that look like? So if you're not used to exercising, I'm not going to tell you got to strength train with me 3 days a week. Now, if you want to do, that's great. We can go that route. But most of the time it's about, let's take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and let's start with that. Let's get really good at doing that, because not only does that build confidence, but it allows them to build belief in themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Once they build that belief, then guess what? I'm in. Because you want to get them a win. You want to get them a win from the beginning. Something easy that they can manage, that they can swallow, that they can get their arms around. And then they're like, you know what? I think I can probably do this. Okay. Because sometime in that month, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a chance where they fall down, where they have a crappy week, where nothing goes right. They have a fight with their spouse, or nobody in the house is participating. Work is going in the crapper. It's like they're going to have days where nothing goes right. And you know what? That's where you have to dig into your belief and get yourself back on. So that first month, it's all about routine. It's all about routine. It's talking about the routine. It's talking about where we're going. It's not talking about where we've been. It's not talking about things that haven't worked. Because guess what? Your brain's always listening, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about what we're creating. let's talk about where we're going over here. And that's my job, is to keep you like focused on that.
Very nice. And that what you just said, whether it's lose 100 pounds or start a business or become an effective caregiver for your mother, all of those, whatever that goal is, that process works.
Well, and it's also in there, we want to create a policy, procedure, whatever you want to call it. That's the academic in me coming out with those terms.
Yeah, I love
but
it.
we want to create a process where we're celebrating the wins too. So you know
Yes.
what? You've had a week. Guess what? You've stayed on track. You've gotten everything done. Guess what? You know what? I don't want you worried about it tomorrow. We'll go out and have some fun and enjoy yourself tomorrow. What does that look like? Hopefully, after a while, when you figure out that what this fit lifestyle is something I think I could really wrap my head around, because I can do it my way. And you know what? Building this business over here where I'm using in person and online, even though I'm not completely sold on it, I can really see the benefit and the value of it. And it's really not as hard as it's made out to be, because you know what? I don't have to do what Susie Q over there is doing. I can just do the things I want to do.
Yes.
So we want to celebrate those wins.
And I think that is really important. We want to celebrate the wins. I once heard somebody say lower the bar, and I have to admit the big achiever in me was so offended at first. I'm like, what do you mean? But they were saying lower the bar on what you're willing to celebrate about what you've done. And so you take the mindset, getting people enrolled, getting the wins, getting them confident as part of your experience. So you were talking about it in the personal training world, but as I mentioned in your bio, you also do that in the business world. So I would love for you to share how you do a hybrid model in terms of a business experience for people.
Well, first off, let me just state the obvious in the room. Why are we even talking about the hybrid model in today's world? Because of what 2020 did to so many people in terms of their lives, their businesses, just what we know in general. Look, the healthcare industry has changed. This is thank goodness for telemed, right? To some degree, right? But for my industry, other than the travel industry, I think my industry was hit the hardest, because there were so many people, myself included, who operated to a large degree being in person, face to face in some regard in their business, whether it's one-on-one, small group fitness, experiences, whatever. Okay. And even though I was already online to some degree, that has to have been the worst year of my professional career, not to mention all the personal challenges that went along with it, because everything that I knew and believed was questioned. That was the only year that I really questioned if I could actually make my business work anymore. And I had to really dig deep and find that version of myself in 1998 that called my folks one Friday night and said, I think I'm going to start my own business. And I couldn't go to the bank and borrow a bunch of money. I just knew that I had to make it work. So I had to find that version of myself again. And it took a while. And there were weeks there where I was like, I don't know. I really question. I don't know if I can really do this anymore. You're having conversations with people that you thought supported you that are like questioning, are you really think that's a good idea? That's not really people that I thought would have rallied behind me didn't. And then you're getting messages and comments from people that you don't even know on social media calling you a danger to society. So I never thought in a million years I would have to defend my profession or myself, for that matter. But anyway, what I learned out of that is that despite how challenging all that was, and everybody listening has been through major challenges in their life. I don't want to make it sound like I'm the only one. Okay. But what I really learned that year was that your biggest challenge can be your biggest opportunity. Your biggest challenge can always be your biggest opportunity if you let it. Okay. If you let it. So as far as to answer your question about the hybrid model, I thought, okay, if this is where the world is going, I'm going to get on board. I'm either going to get on board and I'm going to see what happens, or I'm going to mail it in and I'm going to go work for somebody else.
Right.
So if the ship is leaving the station, guess what? You got to get on it or you get left behind.
Absolutely.
So we can see now, looking around, we're recording this in 2024, looking around, the hybrid model is evident everywhere. It's not just in my industry and yours, it's everywhere. And so my prediction, based on people that I've talked with, people not just in my industry, but even in other industries too, that having some working combination of online and in person is not only going to be nice to have, it's going to be critical for success for the future. Critical for success.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and create 10 different ways that people can work with you. I think that's a BS thought that a lot of business owners have. They think, I've got to go and be on social media all the time and send 11 emails on a daily basis and be here and be there. And I can't do that. And I don't want to hire people to do that. And so I'm just going to go back to what I was doing. All right, that's all well and good. I don't blame you, because it does sound like a lot of work. But here's the thing. One of the things that I teach is that we look at what you're already doing every day in your business and we figure out different ways to monetize that online. Because 90% of people today go online before they make a buying decision of any kind. So let that sink in. And if you're not online connecting with people and building an audience, you're missing out on the opportunity to help thousands of people that need you, that are looking for someone like you. That's my message to anyone listening.
Yes. And even for those people that are looking for an in-person experience, they're going to find it online first.
Yep.
Well, and Alison, one of the things that you and I were discussing in our previous conversation was those in-person events and experiences. They can certainly be done well, and they can be done less effectively. But first, I want to frame this conversation for the listeners. What is the difference between a vacation and a retreat?
I'm so glad you asked, because anyone that knows me and what I like about retreats knows that I will rail on this one thought for as long as you give me airtime. But I'm going to spare your audience of that. But what I'll say is this. Why do we go on vacation? Why do you think we go on vacation?
Relax, unplug, time away.
Right. Get away. Get
a sunburn if you're me.
But here's the thing, though. When we go on vacation, what do? We typically do things. We typically may or may not do some of the same things that we do at home. Mm-hmm. But typically what we do is we indulge in things that maybe we're not interested in pursuing long term, or we do things that we end up having to double back and make up for when we get home. Example, we might eat and drink things that we're not accustomed to doing. We stay up later, we sleep in, we stay out in the sun all day if you're beach people. And look, nothing is wrong with any of that. We are human beings living a human experience. I'm not going to tell anybody not to have an amazing time on a vacation. We all need vacations, but it doesn't change anything for you. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. If anything, you get home and you need a vacation from your vacation. Why? Because you're tired. Every time. Because you're tired. And you know what? You're used to being a cruise director and planning everything, right? When you go on a retreat is about change. It's about embracing that next version of yourself. It's about challenging your boundaries and doing things that maybe you're thinking about doing at home while you're living life and doing the 50 million things that you're committed to on a daily basis. But when you go on retreat, it's about that next version of yourself. And the only way that we can embrace that is when we get out of our current environment and we go into a new environment, one that's somewhat controlled, where we don't have to make a lot of decisions every day about what we're going to have for breakfast and where we're going to go for lunch and what we're going to do for dinner and who's picking the kids up and what about this and what about that and what about the church obligation that I'm committed to. We're not doing any of that when we're on retreat, right? So it's an opportunity to step into that next version of yourself. So it's about transformative change. It's not about temporary change. That's the big difference that I want to highlight.
Yes. And either one of those can be done on a beach. So if you're going to spend a week on a beach, would you like to come home a little tired, or would you like to come home transformed in a way that will enhance your future self?
Well, yeah. And it's about stepping into that next version of yourself. What I always teach on my retreats, I use a compass in all of my teachings. And one of my signature retreat exercises is what I call the compass walk. And we always do it using a compass. And it's always about the direction to your future, right? Finding the direction to your future self, right? And each point on the compass has a different step in my system. And most people, if you ask them, they say they pretty much know what they're good at, right? Mm-hmm. They know what they've been successful at doing. They know what's easy, what comes easy to them. but they're also really quick to point out where they either don't give themselves enough credit, where they don't put enough time, what needs the most work, right? And in order for that compass to really direct us into the future place where our most abundant self lives, and newsflash, that person is in the room with you right now. And the only reason that you haven't met him or her is because of how you're living and how you're being right now.
Mm-hmm.
So our job, my job on retreat as a facilitator and a leader is to help show you not only how close that is, but the most direct path so that you can join him or her.
That's awesome.
Because we have this crazy notion of time because we live a human experience. We tend to make decisions and we have thoughts and decisions and we make major changes in our lives based on what we see with our human eyes. How much money's in the bank account? What does the calendar look like? What do I have on my schedule today? What's on my bulletin board over here? We're really good at doing that as human beings, myself included, which is why I feel like I can say it. But all of your power is in what you don't see. Okay. All of your power is in what you don't see. So it's about feeding that future vision and then looking at the thoughts and decisions that you're living with today and how close in alignment is that with your future self. That's what we look at on retreat.
Nice. And so people can come to your retreats if they're looking for an opportunity. But for the business model, for people who are looking to incorporate retreats as part of their business, tell me about that.
Well, I'm so glad you asked because this is something that I'm obviously super passionate about.
I love your passion about this.
And what I feel like, I feel like now, I'll just preface this by saying, for the first time since 2020, I feel like people are really open to a new experience. People are ready to travel. If you've been anywhere in the last month or 2 months or this year even, the airports are packed, the flights are packed. Everybody wants to go somewhere. Everybody wants to experience something, right? That's a good thing. And so any consumer marketing and business expert will tell you when you look at buying behavior and you look at what people want, one of the smartest things you can do as a business owner is tap into what those trends are right now. What are people asking for right now? What do people really want right now? And what are people willing to do right now? So when you paint all of that, when you look at all of that on the same sheet of paper, what should jump out at you is people want to travel, people want to be together in person, and they want to have new experiences. Well, guess what? That's what a retreat is if you do it right, right? But
Yes.
the problem with that in a business is most business owners don't have a system that they can readily and easily use. They don't know how to sell spots. They have all kinds of crazy ideas that nobody will buy, nobody will come if I try to do it. And at the end of all that, not if that isn't enough, at the end of all that, business owners are afraid of going broke. They're afraid of losing, going into a financial black hole. And then they're really like soured on the whole idea and they just don't even want to think about it. And in the meantime, when you have a system that really works and that's simple and that you can plug in using your body of work and the systems that you are already teaching, I'm not asking you to go invent something different, right? Do that, and we have a way that we can sell it to your audience. That's when you have a winning offer. So most of the time with business owners, it's just getting them to understand that it can be easy, it can be fun, and you can make money at the same time. So it's a win, right?
I really feel like that's the same thing as your fitness clients looking at that 100-pound weight loss. For business owners, it seems a little bit far away, but you help it make the goal realizable.
Yep.
Everything is figure outable, and you show people the compass and the way to get there.
Yeah. And I also think that a lot of business owners look at what other people are doing for retreats and they just think, I can't do that. And so one of the things I always tell my business clients is, okay, who was your audience? We got to think about them first because it is about them. It's really not about you. It's about them, right? Now, I'm not saying that you can't plan a retreat to a destination that you've always wanted to go to. This year, we have New Zealand on our calendar for November. Always wanted to go. And so I've got to be honest. There's a part of me that is doing this for me, but I'm also doing this because I have a good enough system dialed in that I want to take people along the ride with me. But you want it for people who are just thinking about retreats or beginning. You definitely want to keep your audience in mind. And the other thing I'll share is that, and I have a really cool free gift that I'm going to offer to any of your entrepreneurs or business owners in your audience listening, okay, is that you don't have to have a big audience to be able to sell something like a retreat. You can have a very small email list. You can have a very small network. You don't need a huge audience. A lot of people think, oh, it's easy for you because you've been in business a long time. Well, you know what? I had 4 people at my first retreat. And you know what else? I did it right here in Raleigh where I live. Why?
Nice.
Because it was easy and I knew that it was the best thing for the people in my audience. And that's one of the things that I teach.
That's amazing because it just takes it and it doesn't feel so intimidating. You're not asking people to create a whole new thing, a whole new everything. You're showing them how to do it with the tools that they already have or with the content and expertise that they already have, and you give them the tools to create that experience.
Because it's really just about learning a system that you can simply plug your pieces into and just rinse and repeat. You don't want to feel like you're starting over every time you go into a retreat. You know, what's the point? You want to have a system that you feel like it might evolve over time and there may be things that you change, but the basic elements are still the same.
So it's a natural continuum of what you offer. So if people are on your retreats, they're not going to be hearing something way out there. They're going to hear and be supported in the things that you do, but just in a deeper, more experiential level.
Absolutely. And look, there may be there's a couple of new things that I've added to a couple of my retreat programs. And every once in a while, if I have a new something that I'm playing with, I may just test it out at one of my retreats and just to see how it goes, especially if it's a small group. Because if it doesn't really go over all that well, I haven't really invested a whole lot, right? My primary objective as a retreat leader is to give my participants an amazing experience. I want them to go home not only feeling up-leveled, right, to use kind of a buzzword right now, but to also give them some tools that they can keep evolving into their future selves, right? And we all talk a good game about doing that. I'll do it when I have time. I'll do it when I can. But that's just coach speak and code words for it's not important enough right now. And that's just,
that
I'm
applies
not
to any
saying
of
that
those goals.
people don't have other priorities, but at some point, the rubber's going to meet the road and the buck does stop with you.
Right. So taking action, because yeah, for anything, whether it's your fitness goal, eating healthier, your caregiving role, all those things, if you're saying I don't have time for it right now, that's an excuse that you don't want it bad enough.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, and look, a lot of people say this, and I cringe when I hear people say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, we all have 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
And when someone says, I don't have time, I'll get to it later, it's not a priority for them. It's just not. Right. And at the end of the day, you have to look at where you are and understand that where you are is a product of the decisions that you're making. And we live in a world, unfortunately, where we think everything is linear and everything has to happen in a certain order. And I'll get to that when I get this done and all of that. And we have to have some of that in our lives, right? We're human beings. We have to have some of that in our lives. But at the end of the day, we have to trust ourselves to live in what I call living in the and. We want it. Why can't you have both? Why can't you have a more full life if that's really what you want? What's stopping you? At the end of the day, it's usually us that's stopping ourselves, right?
Absolutely. So as we're wrapping up, this has been such a fun journey, how you started off in the struggle. And thank you for sharing that, because truly some people see the after picture and never realize what kind of work went into the before that got you there. So I have huge admiration for leaders like you. I like results leaders, not thought leaders, because you get results that share that, and you can hear it. The listeners can hear it throughout your story, throughout what you teach, throughout what you give, your consistency. You embody your principles and you really, really, truly live it and give it to other people. Yeah. So what takeaways do you have for the audience as they want to be more consistent and embody their goals like you do?
You just have to stay the course. And I know that everybody says that, but let me just give a little background with that. I think sometimes we want to give up when we feel like we give ourselves a time period I'll stick with it and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Let me just see how it goes, right? This is what so many people say. And I feel like so many people quit and give up right about the time when things could start to break for you, right? Mm. But why do we do that? We do that because we become accustomed to believe that things happen quickly, that if we do
Yes.
all the right things, that everything will work out for us. And when they don't, guess what? It's somebody else's fault. That wasn't meant to be. It wasn't like the way it was supposed to be. This just isn't the right path. Okay, well, what if all that weren't true? I fundamentally believe that so many people give up before they even have a chance at tasting what the success that they want can actually look like. And as hard as it is some days, this is where you have to dig into your belief. This is why belief is so important to have, not just on any health and fitness or medical journey, but for any entrepreneur or business owner listening. You have to literally be so okay with releasing from the outcome the way you think it should look. Because when you do that, guess what? There are all kinds of things that will come up that will help re-inspire you if you believe that. I guess that might sound like a page out of a textbook, but what I'll just say is that you've just got to stick with it. You've just got to bet on yourself. And if you believe in your heart that this is what you really want, then don't look at the evidence. You got to feel the evidence from inside of here. You got to learn to think about yourself in a new light, because look, a person who weighs 100 pounds less has a completely different identity and belief system than the person that they were when they started. And understand that it is a journey and it is a process, and you want to surround yourself with people who are going to inspire you and help you and hold you accountable and keep you going, because it's human nature to fall off. So if you fall off, it's not that anything's wrong with you. You're just like the majority of people out there, right? What if that weren't true? What if you could be like the top 5% that stuck with it another month or another 6 months? Or who would you be? Where would you be next year? A year is nothing in the grand scheme of things, right? So what do you have to lose? I guess is what I'll say, right?
Yes. Oh, I love that. When you and I have been speaking, it's about the long game.
Yeah, it is about
It's
the long.
the healthy choices for the long game, not just what you are today. But you're right. A year, when I was a kid, a year was a very long time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not a kid anymore, and a year goes by like that.
And the other thing is that when we really look at it, when we look at the big picture, what I call the 50,000 square foot view, if you can zone out and be up here and look, we're all on this planet a very short period of time. And if the last 4 or 5 years have taught us that, is that none of us know when our dance card is going to be called. And so I just think that you have to live your life with intention and understand that it takes as long as it takes. And that if you buy into that vision of where you want to be, then everything else is just tactical. Everything else is just those small steps. And if you stay the course, you will be successful. You'll get there.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Alison, this has been such an amazing conversation. I love chatting with you. I love learning from you. I'm here taking notes. I know that our listeners are going to want to find you, get more information, hear more of your wisdom. Where are the best places that they can come find you?
The best place that they can connect with me is two places. They can go to my website, which is www.thealisonk.com, and they can connect with me directly there. They can just send me a note. Hey, I heard your conversation with Jaime. I really like that you talked about this. Can you share more? I'd encourage you to come listen to my podcast, either one of them, The Ultimate Journey of Self-Care, which is heard every Tuesday on most major podcast platforms, and Creating the World's Best Client Experiences, which is heard every Thursday. And for any entrepreneur or business owner listening, if you're thinking of doing a retreat or an event in your business and you really maybe you've tried it and it just hasn't worked out, but you're interested in learning more about it, I do have a free, what I call a pop-up podcast coming out. It's a 4-part mini series where I'm going to walk you through my whole process. I'm just going to give it to you.
Wow.
We'll walk you through the whole process, how you can do that, even if you just have a small email list or a small audience, because it is totally possible. The key is that we do it in a way that aligns with your work and what your people want. And that free pop-up podcast, if you just want to reach out to me directly, you can connect with me on my website. I can make sure that you get it.
Absolutely. And when that comes out, we'll put it as a link in the show notes here as well. And I'm going to share that with everybody I know, because there is so much value. There are people who teach short-term rentals that could do a retreat for their clients. It's not just in the wellness industry.
Totally. Absolutely.
This is useful for any type of industry. My listeners who are a caregiver for a family member, a parent, a busy, harried person who's exhausted, going on a retreat can be that transformative thing that you need. So huge amount of value there.
Well, and we don't do ourselves any favors by being the martyr. I know I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to get a break at some point. Let me know when you have a health crisis, how that works out for you, right? Everyone's so quick to make sure their cell phones and their tablets are charged at the end of the day. We have to do the same thing with ourselves too. Our minds, our bodies, our hearts. We need to do it all, right?
Oh, absolutely. Truer words have not been spoken. That was amazing. Yeah. Alison, thank you again. And I really appreciate you for being here today on Navigating Hope.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Navigating Hope. I hope that you found our conversation with Alison K as inspiring and insightful as I did. Alison's journey from aspiring physical therapist to successful entrepreneur in the health and fitness industry is a testament to the power of resilience, consistency, persistence, and adaptability. Here are 6 key takeaways from our discussion. Number 1, embrace the journey. Alison's career path was not a straight line. She started with a plan B that eventually became her passion. This highlights the importance of being open to unexpected opportunities and learning from every experience. Number 2, work ethic and humility. From cleaning gym equipment for $5 an hour to managing health clubs and starting her own business, Alison's story is a powerful reminder that there are no shortcuts to success. Putting in the reps and staying humble are crucial. Number 3, transformative retreats. Unlike vacations, which offer a temporary escape, retreats provide a controlled environment for transformative change. Alison emphasized that retreats are about stepping into the next version of yourself, challenging your boundaries, and embracing new experiences. Number 4, a hybrid business model. The pandemic has shown the necessity of adapting to a hybrid business model, combining online and in-person interactions. Alison's advice to other business owners is to embrace this change and find ways to monetize existing activities online. Number 5, consistency and belief. Success does not come overnight. Alison underscored the importance of maintaining belief in oneself, staying the course, and celebrating small wins along the way. This consistent effort is what ultimately leads to achieving long-term goals. And lastly, number 6, personal connection in business. Building genuine relationships and understanding your audience is key. Alison shared that people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. It's about making others feel heard and safe rather than just selling a product. Remember, your biggest challenges can become your greatest opportunities if you let them. Stay the course, believe in yourself, and keep pushing towards your goals. Thanks again for listening, and please feel free to share this with anyone you think could benefit from Alison's wisdom. Until next time, stay hopeful and stay inspired. Thank you for tuning into Navigating Hope with me, Dr. Jaime Hope. It has been an honor to navigate the realms of health and wellness with you today. Remember, in the journey toward a healthier life, knowledge is your compass. If you enjoyed our time together, please share, like, and subscribe to Navigating Hope. Join us next week where we'll continue to empower your health journey, arming you with the wisdom to navigate life's challenges and keep the emergency room in your rearview mirror.